Welcome to the Getting the Deal Done podcast. Michael McLean is my special guest today. Michael is based out of both Naples, Florida and Ottawa, Canada. And his website, which you'll get later also, brassballsecrets.com, and he runs the Badass Brotherhood for men. And we're going to talk about how he helps these successful men have better lives. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here. Love to talk with business owners, entrepreneurs, investors, and founders. I love this stuff.
Okay. Well, we've got a few things to talk about. I know your website has testimonials about what a great marketing person you are. I work with buy sell deals. We have a lot of crossover in our Venn diagrams on that one. So let's start there. You were telling me, uh, about legacy and these very successful people and how it ties together.
It's interesting. I was a former professional hockey coach. Actually, when I graduated from college, my entire life was climbing towards being a head coach in the National Hockey League. I thought that I was going to play the game of hockey, coach the game of hockey, and retire, and that was going to be my absolute career. And when I graduated from college, I had my first minor pro head coaching job available to me, and it's interesting because 3 years later, what happens to coaches when they're hired, I never saw coming. And I was fired from my pro hockey coaching job after 3 seasons. And I returned home to my parents to lick my wounds. And I was sitting at the kitchen table with my mom and dad. And my dad was a entrepreneur to age 85. He's 91 now. He had 70 years in the business trenches, and he founded 14 different small businesses through his career with a grade eight education. And he looked at me and he said, "Son, before you go back into coaching," he said, "can I ask you a couple questions?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "How many cities have you lived in the last 4 years?" And I said, "I've lived in four different cities, coaching four different teams." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "How many homes have you lived in the last 4 years?" I said, "I've lived in four different homes and condominiums in the last 4 years." He said, "How many owners of teams have you worked for, have you answered to over the last 4 years?" I said, "Three." He said, "Okay." And he says, "Now you've been fired from this job." And he said, "Do you see yourself as a married man later?" I said, "Yeah, of course." "Do you see yourself as a father?" I said, "Absolutely. That's my number one goal." And he said, "How does any of that fit in with pro sports?" And that, John, was my first light bulb moment. And he looked at me and he said, "Let me tell you something, son." He said, "Any fool can make money." He said, if any fool can make money," he said, "in business." He says, "if you're willing to trade your life, your health, your fitness, your spirituality, if you're willing to trade your life, of course you can make money." He says, "What I've been able to do and what I'm encouraging you to think about doing is building the ultimate lifestyle business." And he said, "This may be crazy, but hear me out." He said, "What about instead of taking the next job in sports, you stay home with me for 1 year and you work in the family insurance agency?" I'd never stepped in the place before, never worked at a desk in my life. He said, "I'll teach you the business from the front door to the back door in 12 months. Give me 1 year. After 1 year, you walk in my office and you say, 'Pop, I don't like it. I'm going back to hockey.' You can always do that." He said, "But if you love it, if you find that you have an obsession for this business and entrepreneurship," he says, "you and I'll work out a buy sell agreement and I'll sell the company to you and you can build a lifestyle business." And it was right then that I entered entrepreneurship, and I eventually bought my dad's insurance company. I became an entrepreneur. But all this came out of nowhere. Like I was going to be a hockey coach, a sports coach. And then that's when I started. I'm self-taught when it comes to marketing. I didn't know how to hire people. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to sell. And that's when the journey began. But I've never forgot those words from my dad. Any fool can make money, but it takes real wisdom to build a lifestyle business. And I said to my dad a few months later, I said, but what's a lifestyle business?" And he said, "A lifestyle business, no matter what business you're in, The business is built around your life, not your life around your business. And he said, as you go through entrepreneurship, son, you'll notice that 99% of entrepreneurs, we all go in business for the same reason. We go to be our own boss. We want freedom. We want autonomy. We want what I call personal sovereignty. And he says, none of us have it. None of us have it. And my dad was the 1% that did have it. And he said, building a company, every day you get up and you build it around your life, not your life around the business. And he says, if you can do that, I don't care what industry you're in, he said, you'll be in a position to live life and do business on your own terms. And then he said, once you have control of your time and your energy, he says, the next level for you is service. He said, and I'm going to give you 3 words. He says it'll change your life as a man, as a husband, and as an entrepreneur. He said, number one, he goes, there is no significance without service. If you want to be a man of significance, whether it's a husband, a father, a community leader, he says it all starts by your business being linked to serving people. Whatever you're doing that day, the question becomes, how can I serve other people while I'm doing this? He says, then you'll be a business of significance. You'll be a man of significance. He says the other thing is no legacy without significance. So he said you have to serve people to have significance, and when you have significance, you have a chance to leave a legacy. He said, what do you want your children and your grandchildren and even your great great grandchildren to find when they search the internet 100 years from now or even 200 years from now? What do you want them to find? Because my dad's 91, my mom's 91. He says, nobody cares about how much insurance you sold. Nobody cares how many hockey games you won, but they will care about who you helped and how you serve people. So I've always had that in the back of my mind: service, significance, legacy.
Okay. So what's the biggest fear of people you work with have when it comes to all of this?
I work with men 45 and plus. The majority of my guys are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And financially, they've done extremely well. They've had multiple businesses. And it's interesting, it's fascinating, John. They hire me to help them make more money, or they hire me to help them with their marketing. And I almost do none of that with them. I'm talking about guys that are in my masterminds, or they read my books, or they're part of my newsletter. What I find is they don't need any more help in this area. And when I really get to know them better, they don't have personal sovereignty. All they're doing is hiding in their business. They're running what I call a Frankenstein business. They've been wearing the golden handcuffs for a long time. And when they're at home, they're not really at home. They're not mentally there. So when I talk to these men one on one, I find out that their greatest fear, and that's what a coach or a consultant solves, is a person's number one problem. And what people tell you is rarely what is really happening. But I've found over 20 years of doing this that the men I work with, their greatest fear is being forgotten. And I didn't learn this to a handful of years. Like I was like helping them make better marketing funnels, and I was helping them with their email marketing, and I was helping them get in better shape. And then I had guys would come up and talk to me privately, and they say, Michael, I'm 75 and I'm going to be forgotten 15 minutes after my funeral. Or I'm on my third marriage and I'm going to be forgotten. Or I haven't talked to my children haven't been home for Christmas in 5 years. And this is where you really get into the purpose and the obsession. And then I always ask these men, John, what's your mission? What's your mission? What mission are you on? And they have no clue. They've never given that a second of reflection. And then we get down into the heart of why they're really in business. It happens to all of us. We get into business to be free, to be have a life of autonomy, and we end up with the almost opposite thing. But that is what haunts my men, being forgotten after they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, successful people, and they want to keep that going.
They want to
So,
keep going.
yeah, so your website talks about 12 months. You'll either have a list of accomplishments or a list of excuses. How do you work with people on that?
Well, my background in pro coaching and amateur coaching, I own my own two championship teams as well, so I know the business side of sports. I know how to fill rinks. That has served me well as a business consultant because I'm a scoreboard guy. Like the great football coach Bill Parcells says, the scoreboard says who's best. And when I got into business, I didn't adjust to the insurance business. I made the insurance business adjust to me. When I took over my dad's company, that was one of the things that he said. He said, Michael, he says, listen, he says, you're a leader. He says, you're a coach and you're a marketer and a sales guy. He said, make sure you don't come into this industry and take on the habits of the mediocre. He said, bring your high performance mindset and habits into this industry and make it adjust to you. And that's what I did in the insurance business. It was funny. I made our office more into a locker room than an office. Like I had the motivational things on the wall, and everybody had a window, everybody had a door. Everything was based on achievement and results, and everything was teamwork. We grew from 4 people to 23 people, but it was all about performance. And everything had a scoreboard in all the companies I've ever been a part of, and that just automatically increases performance. And that was one of the biggest things is I never ever adjusted to business. I brought my sporting background to the business and I made everything a game. Everything a game. And I've had a lot of guys I've worked with in the last 20 years say to me, Michael, I've listened to you for 10 years, but the most powerful thing you've ever said to me in a book or on a video or a podcast is life is a game and business is a game. And I find that a lot of these men and women, they take things so seriously, and it has to be a fun game with a scoreboard. And I find that most entrepreneurs and founders are naturally competitive people. But if we were raising money for the food bank or for the library or for children's literacy or for animal rescue, we made those games, we made that have a scoreboard, and that's how we had peak performance. So I just think that it's really, really important that the person who lets another 12 months go by, we're heading into another calendar year. And most people are completely back where they were 18 days into the year. The gyms, as you know, John, are empty on January the 18th, and resolutions don't work. Commitments work, resolutions don't. There's no scoreboard, there's no accountability, and there's nobody treating it like a competitive game.
So, I just want an example. You've got a business person, they're doing well. What kind of scoreboard do you set up to get them to where they want to be with legacy and not being forgotten and having significance?
Well, the thing is, I tell the men that I deal with that there's no silos in their lives, and there's no silos in yours or my life either. Everything bleeds into everything, is what I mean. So these men have focused on money, money making, and business for 50, 60 years, and they're highly successful in a lot of cases. Some of these guys are on their second and third marriage, 50 pounds overweight, turned their back on God 50 years ago, drink too much, social media, maybe some gambling, whatever it is. And I keep telling them that there's no doors in a quality life. In other words, when I sit down at the kitchen table, we have a family dinner every night, my wife and my young daughter, and we talk about business, we talk about school, we talk about marketing, we'll talk about this podcast today. I don't have any doors in my life. I don't have any doors in my life. I talk about marketing. I talk about spirituality. I talk about my morning walk. I talk about money. No doors in my life. But if a person, okay, is disconnected from themselves or disconnected from their wife or disconnected from their grandchildren, that just automatically bleeds into their business. So, what I teach and preach is there's no silos. And then once the guys are aware, they're like, I've always wanted to lose some weight and get in better shape. Then what I do, John, is I find their why. If you say you want to accomplish something, the only thing I focus on once your mouth opens and you tell me exactly what it is and I believe you, I go and I find your why. And as soon as you have a burning desire, which is your reason why, the rest of it takes care of itself. A guy is not going to lose 50 pounds and give up drinking alcohol because of, the doctor said he should. There has to be a burning reason why. A guy's not going to repair his relationship with his grandchildren or children if he doesn't have that burning reason why. And admittedly, most men have no clue their reason why for doing anything. And that's one of the things that I work with guys because I used to take my athletes, my hockey players, and I'm like, what's your goal this year? Well, coach, I want to get an academic or an athletic scholarship to the United States. And I'd be like, why? And they'd give me an answer. And I'd say, that's great. Why do you want to do that? And they'd give me an answer. I'm like, that's fantastic. Why do you want to do that? And after asking them 7 times why, I always find out the real reason. And that's called the 7 levels of why. And my guys go through that experiment with their wife and their kids. And then all of a sudden they drop 50 pounds. I had a guy last year, he lost at age 71. He set a goal to lose 71 pounds. And he lost 71 pounds last year at age 71. And for the first, I didn't have to manage him. He found his reason why. Then he hired a nutritionist and he hired a strength coach once a day, and he achieved that goal. But he never had that burning reason why. So when they realize that there's no silos in life and everything bleeds into the other thing, I'm sorry, but you really have to have your act together in all these areas if you're ever going to have peace of mind and what I call personal sovereignty.
Okay. It all makes sense. I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of business people and the business is their life, and that's not healthy. So,
It's interesting. I have a saying I learned in football: more is caught than taught. So I also have a saying that the kingdom, when the king does not rise, the kingdom dies. When the king does not rise, the kingdom dies. And what that means is the husband, the father, the leader, whatever you want to say in your particular family. When I have guys that are not showing up as husband, as father, as grandfather, as a community leader, they wonder why the kingdom's dying. And I say to them, I say, is this the legacy that you want to leave? Because they have to learn that their legacy is their children. Their legacy is their grandchildren. And nobody's going to remember their bank account. And at their funeral, nobody's even going to talk about how much money they made. They
mhm.
might mention the business, but it's all about the legacy through the family. But more is caught than taught. So I'll say to a man, I'll say, it for your wife and children and grandchildren, is your life a warning, or is it B, an example? And this is where we get to the heel of the hunt. Guys that are 100 pounds overweight, they're not present, whatever it is, and I'm like, you have to take personal responsibility for these things. But is this the legacy that you want to lead? To lead. And the other thing, too, the last thing I notice is a level of selfishness that needs to be transformed. In business, it's so easy for us, John, to become me, more, instead of serve, help other people. And I mean, I used to tell the guys when I was broke, I was about chasing money. When I was poor, all I did was chase money. The second I got up and said, okay, use me to serve other people. How can I serve other people? All of a sudden, I became magnetic to high frequency people, magnetic to good luck, magnetic to money, magnetic to meeting other magnetic style people. And I'm a believer in that stuff now is it all start the key to living is giving. And the more I give, the more successful and happy I find myself.
Makes sense. So the number one the first testimonial, I should say, on your Badass Brotherhood website is Michael is a true marketing genius. So I feel we'd be negligent not to at least talk about how you help people do marketing and marketing for their business, but also with all these life traumas you've talked about. How do you help them market themselves to recover their relationships and other things?
Well, marketing is the gasoline of your business. I didn't realize that until I was in the hockey business and they said, by the way, you have 2 games a week and you need to sell the stadium out. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? So that's when I met the great Dan Kennedy, who was the person who had with that testimonial. Dan is the greatest marketer in the history of direct response, and I've been a student of his for decades. But he taught me that marketing is the gasoline of your business, and that marketing is self-taught. I never studied any business or marketing at university. I thought I was gonna, I was gonna chase hockey pucks, not market. So I got busy reading all the books on marketing, all the newsletters, anything I could get my hands on. And then I'm an old school guy when it comes to marketing. I don't do, John, any social media. I'm an email a day guy. And I so whenever I create a company, no matter whether it was a window washing company, an insurance agency, a barber shop, a hockey team, even when I was president of the Rotary Club for my fundraising. The number one thing I do when I get involved in any business or charity, I build an email list. And they call it caveman email because email's been around for 25 years. But the thing about email is any small business owner, I call it the honey that brings in the money. So instead of having to fool around with social media and algorithms and trying to learn these platforms, and we don't own the pipes, we don't own the platforms, you build a following on LinkedIn, it can be gone tomorrow. You build a following on X and it can be gone tomorrow. The only platform that I use as a guest is YouTube, and I just use it to host my videos. And then when a person watches my daily video, I offer them a free copy of my book. And all they have to do to get my book is opt into my email list. So I'm getting them off the paid platform that somebody else owns, and then I get them into my pipe. And I did that in all the 5 businesses I was in. I built an email list in the barbershop business, the insurance business, the window cleaning business, the hockey business. And it's also an incredibly affordable way to market. So in the insurance business, I would send 1 email a week. In the barbershop business, 1 email a week. And I started these, John, from zero, from absolutely zero. And every day somebody would come into our business. We were in the email capturing business. That's it. That's all. When a person would walk into the barber shop or they walk into the insurance agency, we would capture their name and their email. If they walked in, if they phoned, whatever way, if they came to our website. And we started capturing 5 emails a day, then 10, then 20. I built my insurance email list from 0 to 62,000. And we got to the point where I would write an email once or twice a week, and it could generate anywhere from 10,000 up to $30,000 of quotes for insurance. I did the same thing in the barbershop business. I'd send out an email every week saying that, now is a great time to get a haircut and a shave and a drink. do a promotion, and we would literally swamp the shop for the next 3 days in clients. I filled my hockey arena with the same type of thing. So I'm not just a marketer, but I'm a believer in email because I'm a small business owner as well. I don't have the money for television or radio. I didn't have the income for that in the beginning. Email was and to this day is still my number one media. And that's what I do with my consulting. This is all my guys are on my daily video list. They get an email. I write an email every day of my life. Like I've written an email once every day for 22 years. I've never missed a day. And that's something that I can do in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the way I market.
Okay. So, Michael, let's finish up with you've talked about no service equals no significance. How do you get your clients into service if they haven't been doing it?
Well, a lot of my entrepreneurs are very um, kind and compassionate people that are too busy. So we tackle their busyness first of all, and I call it vitamin N. And vitamin N means no. The word no, my favorite sentence and word in the English language, no. No, as a dad, no. As a business owner, no. Vitamin N. So they have no vitamin N, John, in their life, so they have no time to serve. So I always get them to list every single thing that they do in a day in a circle on a pie. And then I just cross out all the stuff that there should be a no beside, which, of course, as you know, is 90%. 90% of what the small business owner does in a day, he or she shouldn't be doing, or it shouldn't be done at all. So then when they start to curate and swift sort some of this and people and things out of their life, all of a sudden they now have time, and they have time to teach Sunday school. They have time to coach. They have time to join the Rotary Club for lunch on Mondays. They have time to help at the food bank. And then once they get a taste of serving other people like you do, it's a drug that can't be turned off. I mean, I coach little kids in hockey. I've worked in the jail systems. I mean, I'm a coach by trade. Once you get hooked into serving people, there's no turning back. But I can't get them until they start using vitamin N to simplify their life. It's, then they do have the time to do it because I mean, most of these people have so much to share. I'll say to some of my entrepreneurs, why aren't you speaking at public schools about entrepreneurship? Why aren't you teaching Sunday school if you have such a passion for Christianity is in as an example. Why aren't you coaching T-ball if that's your passion to young kids? And then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off. They never even think about it sometime because they think they're busy. And I said, when you serve other people, it automatically makes you a better entrepreneur, automatically makes you a better husband, automatically makes you a better father and grandfather. And even a mastermind event, I'll put on a 2-day mastermind event, say in Orlando. We'll go to the homeless shelter as part of that 2-day. I'll take 3 to 4 hours and we'll go and work at the shelter and we'll peel potatoes and we'll peel carrots and we'll serve people that are living on the streets for 2 to 3 hours just to see if I can light that fire in them. And in certain cases, this is the first time these guys have ever participated in something like this. And then they go back to their community, and all of a sudden, the fire's been lit. So I guess it's my job to light the light bulb, and more is caught than taught. They see me connecting service to everything I do. Everything I do has a service component. So they're like, okay, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and when she raised, like, she's raising thousands of dollars as a 12 and 11-year-old child with an email list and with me helping her with school projects. So they see me connecting service to everything. And then it's contagious after that. So my job is to light the fire by example.
Great advice, Michael. Great advice. This has been very Very interesting. It's fascinating. Again, Michael McLean, former professional hockey coach, now an eight-figure entrepreneur. Uh, brassballssecrets.com. You can download his book for free. And I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you, John. I appreciate being here, and it's always great to visit with other fellow entrepreneurs, founders, and small business owners.
All right.